Hello everyone and welcome to the Matrix Exodus. And the Matrix Exodus is all about preparing. So I'm talking about self-representation and the need, I believe, to learn the law and have confidence in being able to self-represent your own legal cases. Because I think one of the arguments that I made in my own court case when I was left to self-represent my rape case was that we've lost the human touch in the court system and the justice system, and we don't really have a justice system. And the reason why we don't have a justice system is because the lawyers, when I went over to the solicitors to ask for their help, 2-year time limit on CICA claims, so for your criminal injuries compensation, and I was at 3 years, not 2 years. In the UK, you do have a no official statute of limitations, so you can report a crime at any point that you feel ready after the crime has taken place. But for compensation, it's 2 years. So when I was going to solicitors asking them to represent me, they all refused on the basis that I'd reported the crime 3 years later and that it was unlikely that I would win. Now, when you do take a case to court and there are these rules, they do allow for exceptional circumstances, and none of the solicitors were willing to listen to my exceptional circumstances. One of the arguments that I raised in my court case was that we are actually first of all judged by the lawyers, by the solicitors. So you go to the solicitor, you bring about your case and you say, this is what has happened to me. They'll pick a case if it's going to make them money. So they only pick for profitable cases, which means that there's a whole load of lower value cases which are not receiving justice, which is causing upset and trauma to people as well. And maybe it's just too much work for them, and so they've decided not to take on that case. So when you've explained your case to the solicitor, they have actually become the judges. And this is one of the arguments that I made. I didn't need to make this argument in my court case, but I did because I wanted to point out how bad and poor quality our public sector system and our legal system and our justice system were. So you go to the solicitor, you lay out your case, and they'll say yes or no. And if they say no on the basis that it's not profitable to them, then most people don't go through the court system because they're not going to self-represent, because they believe that the lawyers have said no on the basis that it's not a very good case. They don't necessarily realise that it's because it's not profitable for them. So people are not receiving justice. And this is why you need to be able to self-represent. And I just wasn't willing to let someone to have the police allow someone to rape me and then receive nothing for it. I just wasn't going to be accepting that as a consequence of all of this. I was out to shame the public sector, actually. Just going to fight my own rape case because no one would do it it's perverse, it's filthy, it's disgusting, and I used all those adjectives to explain how I feel about our public sector. And I said, it shouldn't be like this. Anyway, it is like this, and we need to be able to fight our own legal battles. So CICA is a 2-year time limit. I was at 3 years, and so I had to learn the law, and I had to do a law degree. I didn't actually have to do the law degree, but I'm glad that I did because it taught me so much. It taught me about how corrupt the justice system actually is. You learnt about Elm Guest House. Like, this was an actual crime and everything, but Wikipedia has said that it's just a hoax, which it isn't. It was It was started by a Muslim man and his wife, who was English, and they had lots and lots of MPs there. Anyway, I'm going off track. There's a lot of stuff you can go and learn about Elm Guest House, but don't go to Wikipedia because it's a lie. Okay, so Naomi Campbell. We all used to have legal aid. Then Naomi Campbell, who was a supermodel, she, from the 90s, in this case here, she used legal aid and she was a millionaire. And then the whole argument became, well, you shouldn't punish rich people for having money, but she should be allowed to have legal aid. And then there was the other argument saying, well, legal aid is for the poor, really. And it became this massive argument. And then in the end, legal aid was pulled up from everyone except criminals. So only criminals now and certain people receive CICA. Legal aid, and CICA does not receive it. I think that crimes are going to increase, and I think that you need to make sure that you're claiming your compensation for your criminal injuries. This is why I'm talking about. Basically, I think that polite society is going to bring about a lot of crime, and I would like to see people fight for their criminal injuries compensation. I truly believe that if you start hitting the public sector in the pockets, in the wallet, then they're going to start changing the ways that they behave. It's the same with what I'm doing with these. So I'm writing letters, legal letters for people. I charge for the letters, but I tell them I will not represent you in court. You have to go through the court system. But also, if you do settle outside of court, don't take the first offer. This woman got £150 offered to them. Don't take the second offer and keep on threatening with the courts, because they'll probably increase. And when you do go to court, and I do encourage you to go to the courts, don't settle outside, then it costs them for legal, they've got to pay for their lawyers, and then they've also got to pay for the compensation. I said in my last video as well, don't go through the ombudsman, and please don't go through the ombudsman, go through the courts, but make sure that you're self-representing and make sure that you take them to the courts. You have the right to justice in this country, and that means using the courts. If anyone's shaming you for using the courts, that's a lie, and you just say, explain to them, I have a right. This is a country that has provided me with a justice system, apparently, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to use the court system. They shouldn't be dictating what cases can and can't be used or taken to the courts. So please be self-representing. Please have the confidence to do it, and make yourself aware of the law. Do try to follow it completely so that there are no technicalities. If you've got less than 16,000 in savings, then you're actually provided with help. The government will pay the legal fees for you, so they'll pay the court fees and everything. And the other side will not be able to claim any legal compensation from you because you just don't have that kind of money to pay. So it's going to be a case that those people who have less money are going to be able to fight the cases and lay out the case law for the future. And I think that that could be a very good thing, because I feel that what's happening with these agendas is to ensure that everyone is in poverty equally, except those at the top. And that could be something that really turns against them, because they cannot say that we live in a society where justice is available, but then take away the ability to seek justice. They already are doing that. they're preventing lawyers. Lawyers are sort of avoiding cases which are low profit, and I reckon that they'll try to take away the ability to self-represent through the legal system, and they may even try to take away what they have in place for people who are in poverty, which is to ensure that the government pays those fees, or that those fees are just paid for somehow through the taxpayer, I guess. But I do feel that that is going to be attempted to be taken away. I don't think that they're going to succeed, because there will be disability discrimination cases to be made with that, because most of the people who are in poverty are disabled. And I said to someone, Jared, on an interview that I did in 2017, I said to him, I do believe that they're going to try and kill off the disabled people in Western cultures, because first of all, most of the disabled people in society are white. In Western society are white people, and these Marxist people, they don't want to help white people. They hate white people, and so they need to kill off the disabled people, is how I put it. And this was in 2017 that I said it. So it was before the COVID, and when all these injections were fed to disability and elderly people first of all. And I could see it coming, that they were going to try and kill off the disabled people, because there's this disability claims are going to be a pain for them. I do believe that they're going to try and prevent people in poverty from seeking any kind of justice through the court systems. I do believe that they're going to take away the ability for the government to pay for the fees, or to discount fees and court fees and all of that sort of stuff. And I don't believe that they're going to do it, but I think this is going to be done over a long stretch of time. I think it's going to be over a next generation, to be honest with you. I see it for 30 years, this process being put in place, and that's only because they've got the Agenda 30, they've got the Agenda 50, and I would love to see people fighting back through the courts. And the problem that we're going to have with doing that is that the mainstream media won't report on our cases, so we don't know about case law, existing case law such as my own. Alternative media is refusing to talk to me, and has been since 2017. So I don't believe it or trust the alternative media. I think a lot of people will start turning away from alternative media too, because they're just going to see that they're trying to get to speak to alternative media and they're just being ignored, just like I had been. So I don't know how we're going to ensure that we are aware of case names through our own self-representation, but we'll have to cross that bridge as we come to it. But as long as people are confident enough to self-represent, and people may think I'm mad for saying these sorts of things, that I see this happening, but lockdown happened, vaccine mandates happened, and 100,000 NHS workers refused. They put their heels down and they said, no, we're not going to take it. And then they all went through self-representation. A lot of them, because again, lawyers weren't willing to represent them, or they were charging high prices to represent them. And people just can't afford those prices. High inflation, they can't afford, people cannot afford lawyers. So you're going to have to self-represent, and it's a good thing. It's going to turn it into a more humanitarian justice system, but it's not there yet, and it will take another generation. I think they said that it takes one generation to lead the country into disrepair or something like that. And that's the same thing to turn it back to how it should be. You know, it's going to take a generation, and there's a big awakening right now. I mean, people are becoming aware of the unfairness, but it's going to be a bit of a slog. I do believe that crimes are going to increase. They're going to be allowed to increase because of political correctness. Police are going to be taken to court for racism claims. They're going to become very on edge about stopping and searching certain groups of people. They're going to be on edge about preventing crimes where certain race criminals are committing the crimes. So it's going to increase, and all we can do is hit the public sector and the private sector in their wallets, and that will, I believe, change things and turn things around. But it's going to be a very, very long slog. I think it's going to take 3 decades, absolutely 3 decades to turn it around. It could even be longer, but as long as you're teaching your children to do all of that. I've taught my son to do chess so that he can be considering other people's moves, his opponent's moves, and preparing for it. So I think that chess is a good mind game to learn in the process of learning how to do self-representation. But I would love to see more people self-represent, and I hope that they do, and I think that it's literally the only way. And I think that once you're cornered, you'll start to do it. And I think it's going to be a long time before people start to do it. I think there's still this, there's no need. People are still too relaxed. They're too comfortable. So it could even be 2 generations, you know. Could even be like 2060. And do you know what? And I said about this in my other video, but 2060 prediction. Isaac Newton predicts that there'll be a new era in 2060, and this was based on his Christian beliefs, and I don't think he's wrong, because I think that that's when we're going to be cornered and people will start fighting back. I talked about that on another channel which I've got, which is more sort of Christian based and looking into, I won't go into it, I might mention it again in another video, but I'll link this video. Okay, well, hopefully you will all start looking into self-representation and law, just become aware of law. And I'm going to be concentrating on this channel about law, and then on my other channel I'm sort of contemplating history. I don't believe the history we're given, so I'm looking at timelines. I'm basically looking into my old, I've got antique books, and I look into my antique books. It's kind of geeky, I guess, so it might not be for everybody, and so is law, so I'm a bit of a geek, I guess. Anyway, please like, subscribe and share and comment. Thank you. Bye.